You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hey, what's up, everyone? I'm Matt Migaki, the vocalist of Cryptopsy and the host of the Vox and Hops Metal Podcast, where I sit down with fellow metal musicians. We talk all about their lives and music while sharing killer craft beers. If you've ever wanted to sneak backstage and share a beer with one of your favorite musicians, well, Vox and Hops is the podcast for you. This week on the podcast, I dropped a killer episode with Kelly Schaefer of Atheist. There is this episode and over 440 other ones to help you enjoy life, metal, and craft beer. So what are you waiting for? It's time to become a Vox and Hops head. Cheers!
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy Monday, or whatever day you decided to listen to this on. Could be any day, I guess. But it dropped on Monday, so happy Monday. And I just wanted to let everybody know, I booked my Summer NAMM stuff. So if you're going to be at Summer NAMM, so am I. Look me up, say hi, let's fist bump, let's talk about, guitars and stuff. Definitely going to be around, so look me up, shoot me an email, info@tonemob.com, all that good stuff. Yeah, sounds like there's going to be lots of folks there, and I'm really excited to see everybody. This will be my first Summer NAMM. I've been to Nashville a lot, but I've somehow managed to miss Summer NAMM every time, so we fixed that up. And since we're talking about Nashville, it just makes sense to talk about Stringjoy. Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, Tennessee. Actually plan on visiting the showroom. Well, it's not a showroom. The factory. It's a factory. That's what it is. They got a bunch of machines. They make stuff. It's a factory. So I'll be visiting the shop there while I'm in town for sure. I think there's even going to be a shindig on Thursday that they're throwing. So I don't know all the details around that yet, so I won't say anything. But Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, Tennessee. They're also going to be at Summer NAMM. I think they make the best strings on the market, and I think that because I've seen it in action myself. I actually seen the process these guys go through, and it's very, very intensive, and the care and handling every step of the way is 100% top notch. I mean, I couldn't believe the level of detail that goes into these things, but that's the way they do it over at Stringjoy, and they give 100% money back guarantee. So if you're not happy, you just email them, say, I don't like these, and then you send them back, and you get your money back. I mean, what do you got to lose? Go to stringjoy.com, check them out. They have a whole bunch of stuff that nobody else does, so slide over there and see if maybe they fit your, headless, bodiless, modern guitar. I don't know. They've got strings for everybody over there, so go to stringjoy.com. You know who else is going to be at Summer NAMM now that we're talking about it? Mr. Sean Arbo of Gun Street Wiring Shop fame. Yes, they've sponsored this episode. Gun Street Wiring Shop is where you go when you know. And you've got guitars that need a little TLC, they need the wiring upgraded. Maybe you want to do some modifications, you want to get crazy with it. You go to Gun Street Wiring Shop. That's the place you go. They use top-notch quality components. They have excellent customer service, which I myself had to utilize because I'm, a dingus. And they helped out, and they make really great wiring kits for just about anything you can think of. The sky's the limit with Gun Street, and that's why we love them. So make sure you go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out today and let them know I sent you. One last thing before we get into the meat and potatoes of this show, and that is if you enjoyed this program, if you like to see it stay on the air, iTunes reviews is always helpful. That's all great. But one big thing you can do, and you're probably doing it already because you like purchasing gear. I mean, who doesn't? Let's be honest. You can go to tonemob.com/reverb. What that'll do is take you via a link right to the reverb.com you know and love. You can do all your shopping. You can do whatever you're going to do on Reverb, and a small percentage of that will come back and help keep the show going, help keep the lights on and the mics hot around here. It doesn't cost you anything extra. Your shopping experience shouldn't change at all. But if you're going to do something on Reverb, go to tonemob.com/reverb and it will help out. And you shouldn't see any difference in pricing or anything like that. And in fact, if this is the first time you are hearing about Reverb somehow, if you've been living under a digital rock somehow, all you have to do is go to tonemob.com/reverb and sign up for a new account. That actually helps us out too. So, and it doesn't cost you anything. So what could be better than that? So yes, tonemob.com/reverb for all of your reverbing and purchasing and selling. Anything you do on there, go through that link and it helps out. Thank you very much. Okay, my guest today, as you figured out, is Emily Wolfe. She's like I don't know what you'd call her, kind of a bluesy rock and roll type of musician. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe, but I really like her sound. And, we hit it off great. She's a super cool person and a legit gear nerd. And I don't know. She's awesome. And I think her music is super, super cool. I was listening to it for quite a while before this discussion of her coming on the show ever happened. So we talk about that a little bit and a lot of other things. And this one, you'll notice, is extra long. Well, we decided to, we were recording Patreon content, and she had some stuff to say at the end of the Patreon episode that I think maybe more people needed to hear. And so I decided to do something else for the Patreon subscribers and add this into the main feed as well, just so more people could hear it. And I think you'll agree with me that it's probably just what somebody needs at that point. I don't know who that person is, but it might be exactly what somebody needs to hear. So let's put it out there for everybody to enjoy. But never fear, Patreon people. You got some good stuff headed your way. I wouldn't let you down. It's not how I roll. Anyway, without further ado, here's Emily. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar tone and the people behind it. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Emily Wolfe. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm
Nothing
so
much.
stoked about this.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm such a fan of the show. I can't believe that I'm on the other end of you talking.
That is ridiculously amazing to hear, because
No, it's so cool.
It's only recently it feels like that's started to happen. I think I don't know who the first person was that like recently that just took me aback. Oh, it was Kurt from Converge when he came on.
Wow.
He was like, "Oh yeah, I know about that." I'm like, changed my life, but I'm not gonna freak out about it too much. A little bit though. A little bit.
Oh man, you gotta freak out. No shame. Yeah, it's awesome.
So let's just start where we always start. What's your musical backstory? How'd you get to where you are? You're touring around, making albums, doing this rock and roll thing. How did it all start?
Yeah. Oh man, how far do you want to take it back?
As far as you want to go.
As far as I want to go? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
maybe
I mean,
a little bit further than you want to go.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start at the very beginning then. Hopefully it doesn't get too much. Well, if it does get to be too much, just say, okay, skip these deets, and then I'll skip them. But so I started music when I was when I was a kid. My uncle used to be in a bluegrass band, and he had all these instruments laying around, and I love the way that a guitar looked. And so I always wanted to play. And I was like 5 when my mom got me a guitar lesson, and I was super excited about it. And my guitar teacher was this older man and kind of grumpy, and I'm like a little 5-year-old girl, with a small Stratocaster, like one of those little minis. I think it was called a Slammer Hammer. Was my first guitar, and it's like a Strat model.
I know exactly. Yes,
really?
Exactly what that is. Oh yeah, I've seen those.
Slammer Hammer, yeah. So he tried to teach me how to read guitar music, and I still to this day have trouble reading music. But he basically told me, you're not very good at guitar. As a 5-year-old, you're not very good at guitar. Yeah. I mean, I'll show you. That's what I'm thinking. But anyway, he was like, well, maybe we should try drums. And I was like, okay. So he taught me some drums, and then my family did a little bit of moving around the country and landed in Austin. And I picked up guitar again, and then kind of just ran with that. And did a lot of air drumming in my room, and didn't have a whole lot of friends growing up. At least in the point when at the point when I had first moved. And so that's really when I started to like dig in on guitar. So I was doing that. And then in, mid high school, I'd say I started really writing songs. And that's when I started getting into like the like cassette recorders, and like I found these two little Panasonic like tape recorders that I started multi-tracking on together, and had this little Casio keyboard that I would lay down little drum samples on, and then
Oh yeah.
record on tape, and then record that tape onto another tape on the second tape recorder. And it was like, it sounded horrible, but it was so much fun. It's just kind of like snowballed into what it is now. But yeah, that's like, in a nutshell, where things are. And then in college, I released an acoustic record, which was my very first record, that stemmed from a brutal heartbreak, my first heartbreak. And then the whole record is about, a breakup, and it was really emotional. And then I put that record out, and it's no longer available because it's not representative of, what I want to do anymore. But ever since then, I've just kind of been putting out music. And my most recent record came out a couple months ago. So that's the story, I think.
That's well, we have kind of a funny story of how this kind of came to be, because I stumbled across, you know how the internet is. You don't really know where you start.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I get new people listen to the podcast sometimes. I'm like, where'd you find it? Because you try to put your stuff, as you do as an artist too. You try to put yourself everywhere in
Yeah.
hopes that somebody is gonna find it somewhere and think it's cool.
Yeah.
And then you want to know which areas are working, and then you get the infamous, I don't remember, but I really liked it, and that's all that matters. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
that's true. But
Yeah,
I
totally.
don't know where I first found like your first single, or like what's now your like main single, which is, was it Holy Roller? Was that
that one.
single?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's a
I found
single.
that song somewhere, and I was like, this is awesome,
Oh,
and this
that's
is
so cool.
all kinds of my business. And I was like, that's really cool. I can't wait for the full record to come out. And kind of moved on with my day. Fast forward to NAMM, and one of the show sponsors, Sean from Gun Street Wiring, was like, hey, do you know Emily Wolfe? I'm like, I know of her. She has that really awesome song out, but no, I don't know her. And he's like, well, I just talked to her, and she talked about the podcast in some, way, shape, or form. And I was like, well, this is crazy. And so
That's so awesome. Yeah.
yeah. Fast
Oh,
forward to
man.
like a month ago, I was like, let's just see if she wants to do the show. So here we are.
Oh my God, of course. I wouldn't miss it. I cannot believe that you asked me on this podcast. You have no
yes, you
idea.
can. Oh, you can. You can believe it, because I hear your guitar tone. This is
Oh,
let's
man.
talk about that Sheridan. Let's talk
Oh,
about it.
man. Oh my God. Okay. Well, let's talk about it. I got it like 8 or 9 years ago, just at a Guitar Center. And like, I love BB King. I always have. And like, that was like the most affordable option that looked like his guitar, Lucille. And so I was like, I'm going to get that one. And yeah, I think it was like $400. And
Yeah.
I mean, I had to like almost like grow into it, because it was just so big, and it's still really big, and people still comment about like, that guitar's massive on you. And it's like, well, yeah, but I mean, it's got a massive sound, and that's like the most important thing. And so like, especially in a power trio, you got to fill that space. Like, but yeah, that I tried different guitars, and I just always come back to that one, because it's just such a part of me now. It's hard for me to switch guitars during shows, because I just want to play that one. And it's like a really special little piece of equipment. But I love the pickups in it, because I think that they're not exactly 500K pot humbuckers. Like, they've got it. They're like something darker than that. Like, and so I think that's where a lot of the tone comes from. I mean, of course it's where the tone comes from, but it's like every other guitar, even if it's like the highest quality guitar, I'm like, that doesn't sound right to me. Cause like the pickups are exactly 500, but my Sheridan
Okay.
is like something different, and I don't know what it is. I need to measure it somehow, but, yeah, that's like, it's my favorite guitar in the world.
But is it as came from the factory? Like, you haven't changed
Yeah.
anything?
The only thing I changed was the knobs. I didn't really like the gold knobs. So I put those like black top hat ones on there. Um, and then I took the pick guard off recently, but that's it, totally stock.
Nice. The Sheridans are like kind of I don't know if it's famous is the right word, but they're well regarded instruments. You'll rarely hear anybody say anything bad about an Epiphone Sheridan. And one of my favorite artists is Lucero, and Ben Nichols has famously like always played a Sheridan like live. He's always had this like this Sheridan. I don't know if it's the same one, but he's
Yeah.
always had it. And I remember like reading some articles about it years ago, and he was like, yeah, well, I record with these really nice really nice Gibsons, but I don't want to take them out on the road, and this Sheridan just is a workhorse.
That's
And it's
exactly
like,
it. Yeah,
have you ever
totally.
ran
That's
into any
exactly it.
issues with it?
Never. It is like the hammer of your
Yeah.
toolbox. It's like crazy. It's like, and I do the exact same thing. Like when I'm recording, I use Gibsons. Because the Sheridan, it's incredible for live stuff because it's not too harsh. It doesn't like pierce your ears when you hear it. And Gibsons don't either, but I don't know, like there's just something about the Sheridan that just sits perfectly in my ears. And so like, I can only hope that it sits perfectly in the audience's ears. But yeah, I record with Gibsons and then I take that Sheridan out on the road.
Nice. What's the I know you're pretty big into pedals, and so your board probably changes all the time, but what's your current setup look like with the rest of the signal chain?
Oh yeah, this is a dream come true question. I just have to tell you because I'm just so
All
obsessed
right.
with it. Oh, I've just been wanting to tell people about this for so long. So here we go. Okay. My main setup is I'm using a True Tone CS12 power supply. And then I
Same
got,
here. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God, it's incredible. It's so great.
It's
Um,
perfect.
it's perfect. Yes. And I've got a Gator large aluminum pedal board. So I got that thing underneath, and then I'm using a Polytune Mini, and then I found this like really amazing analog effect switcher, and it's by a company called Flex Reaction, and it's the Compound 55 switcher, and it's like the best because there's no menus, and it's just basically like 5 different loops with dip switches on top of each loop. So it's basically like the octa switcher. I think it's by Carl Martin, right? But it's like
Yeah.
really small and compact. Yeah. So I've got the tuner going into that, and then my 5 loops are just like my gain. So it's like I've got, what do I have? I stacked 2 different OCDs. So I've got one OCD set up as like a clean boost kind of, and then that goes into another OCD, and then yeah, oh my God, it's so much fun. And then I mean, my Sheridan and the OCD are like, it's great, it's incredible, but it can get kind of muddy if you're not careful. So I put a Klon KTR, and I just use that for clarity, basically. So I've got that after the OCDs that are stacked, and then I've got an MXR 6-band EQ to EQ that, like take down the lows and then boost the mids. So that's basically my gain. I know I'm forgetting.
And
Oh yeah.
do you turn that on in stages, or do you pretty much have that on all the time and play with your volume, like your picking and your volume knob, or do you stage that? I don't know if I
The
phrased that
KTR.
correctly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I
like do
think
you
I know.
turn all that on at the same time and just play with dynamics, or how do you do it?
Yeah, so basically on this loop switcher, it's like I've got like 5 different settings. So on
Okay.
my first, yeah, it's cool. So on my first setting, it's like just the regular OCD, not stacked, and that's set up like you would a normal OCD. You know, it's like volume at 10 o'clock, drive at 2, tone at like 1 is what I do.
Right.
So
Okay.
there's that in loop 1. The second loop is my stacked OCD. So I've got that clean boost OCD into that regular OCD. So that's the second
Okay.
one. Yeah. And then the third one is, I forgot to mention this, but I've been using a Earthquaker Devices Tentacle and for like an octave. So like I put that before everything. So I'll put that first. So this is loop 3 we're talking about, but it's like Tentacle, clean boost OCD, and then regular OCD. So that's like stacked. And the EQ and the KTR are always on. So that's in like every single
Okay.
loop. Yeah. And then the fifth one is, or the fourth one, I'm sorry, is the exact same as 4 or as 3, but with a pitchfork. So it's just like a lower octave.
Oh,
And
cool.
then, yeah, it's pretty cool. And then the last one is just a clean, just the clon and the EQ. Just like in case I'm feeling sassy and want to throw in some clean tones or something. Yeah.
Do
But,
you run any clipping on the Klon, or is it pretty much just clean boosting?
man, I have basically the drive part just all the way down, and I've got the volume up, and then the tone control is like, I don't know. I have it in such a weird position that I couldn't really tell you like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or whatever, but
Right.
I basically just use the volume and the tone as like clarity. Um, and you know, when I first got the KTR, I was like, okay, I'm going to set this up in a way that I can just have it on all the time. But I didn't realize that like that pedal is just so like unique in itself. So it's like I was using it wrong and I didn't like it at first. Um, I was using it wrong for what I was trying to do. So
Okay.
basically, like, it took me a while to figure out that, like, oh, I don't necessarily like the drive on the KTR in my setup. Like, I'm just going to use this as more of a master volume kind of pedal, um, which is cool because it's like, since it's always on, I can have my tone there. And if the sound person is like, can you turn your amp down? I'll just turn the KTR's volume down a little bit. Because it's like,
Oh, okay.
it's the same. Yeah, it's like the same tone, but you don't have to like compromise your amp, you know, not opening up the way you want it to by turning the volume on the amp down. So it's like, um, yeah, there's like a couple different functions that I use it for. But so I got that switcher with those 5 loops, and then I'm running a DD500, um, which I love that delay. It can do basically anything. And
Oh,
then
it's insane.
oh my God, it's amazing. Um, and then into a Strymon Flint, and then out to a TC electronic mimic pedal. So it's like everything is basically doubled, but not to the point where it sounds like a chorus, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like kind of a little bit of a double. It's, you know, just to fill out a little more of the landscape. But that's it.
Do you run that in stereo? The mimic there at the end?
I do when I'm headlining.
Gotcha.
Because yeah, I do when I'm headlining. But when I'm doing support gigs, I just run it mono because, you know, I don't want to be the support act that's like, well, here's all my amps, you know. I just, you know, it's easier to just go up there and be like, here's my 1 amp and this is all I need, you know. And it does make an impression. It makes an impression on the production people, like, oh, they're easy to work with. So it's like,
I'm the guy like, oh, I got 2 dual showmans here that we're gonna need up on the stage ASAP.
man,
So let's figure
see,
this
I
out.
wish I wish I could do that. One day I'll be able to do that. But yeah,
Oh man, what kind of amp are you
yeah,
running, or amps? I guess.
yeah. So I've got my favorite amp that I have is a Fender Concert Reverb. So it's a
Ooh.
410. I think they only made it for like a few years in the early 2000s, but it's a 410. Um, it's got like the smoothest mid range I've ever heard. It's amazing. Um, and then on the road, I take a 410 DeVille, because that amp, my favorite amp, is like I just don't want to mess it up, so I'm gonna keep it at home.
Totally.
It's like the Gibsons. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's it. That's it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of the kind of rig I imagined that you would have, which is kind of funny. I didn't look
Really?
it up. I didn't want to cheat. Yeah, I didn't want to cheat and like try to find it somewhere. Somebody taking a picture of it like I do at concerts. Try to take
Oh
pictures of the
yeah,
pedal boards.
it's
Doesn't
so
everybody do
awesome.
that?
Everyone should if they don't, because it's so cool. It's like,
It's not weird at all.
no, not to me.
Okay, good. My wife thinks it's weird. She's like, "Oh, he's doing it again." I'm like, "I have to see."
You
Plus,
gotta
it's
know
for
the
the
secrets.
gram. It's for the gram.
Yeah,
Like,
it's for the gram. It's important. Yeah,
it's
not weird
very
to me.
important. All right, good. Thank you. That makes me feel better about myself. So, what was here's a good one for you because I'd love to know this. You mentioned BB King earlier, but what were some of your like early or other inspirations? I guess even new inspirations, not necessarily early ones. Just who are some of your musical heroes?
Oh man, musical heroes. I am a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. Um, I think I have like I've played "Couldn't Stand the Weather" just on repeat my whole life, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like my favorite record that he's ever made. But so Stevie, and then I love Queens of the Stone Age. I love Josh Homme's playing so much. It's just so weird and cool and unique. Um, Big John Mayer fan. Who else? BB. I love Albert King. Um, and oddly, there's some jazz people that like older jazz, like Barney Kessel. I love his playing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I love Bonnie Raitt. She can rock a slide like so hard. It's amazing.
Totally.
Um, yeah, that's what comes to mind. And then Motown. I mean, I love Motown stuff. My mom would always play Motown, just cleaning the house, on road trips, everywhere. So like the arrangement of Motown songs, like I'm just so obsessed with the simplicity of that. Like if you really like study Motown, it's crazy how early um the chorus comes in on those songs. It's like first 20 seconds, like hook, that's like
Yep.
such a cool thing to me. Like it's what I try to do in my songs, to like imitate the early hook reel you in kind of thing. Um, what else? My dad would always listen to like old school rock, like Creedence, and Tommy James, and the Guess Who, Bread, you know that stuff. So it's like a blend of all that is where I'm coming from.
That's really cool. Did you have anybody like kind of take you under your wing when you were younger to show you that stuff? You talked about your parents, but a lot of people have an older sibling, a cousin, or somebody that was like, "Hey, here's this rock and roll stuff," or was it just always there?
Man, I didn't actually. Like it's weird. I think. Well, I mean, I grew up in church, and I'm no longer uh, religious, but when I was in church a lot, um, I played drums in like the band, and it was like the most fun I've ever had because it was like the first time that I got to play music with other people, And basically I would just watch the band and like I would run home and like try and figure out those chords, and I would just like watch, okay, their fingers are here on the guitar. I can do that too. So I would run home and do that with my fingers. And then it's like, I would, Sunday after Sunday, I would grab new chords from church basically. And, and learn all these songs. And, there wasn't really a specific person who took me under their wing, but I definitely just learned from watching a bunch of different people,
Would you say that like where like that drive is like a little bit of an obsession? I mean,
oh my God, yes.
That's kind of weird, right? It takes us, and I relate. Like I'm not criticizing. I'm right there with you. Like wanting to make that sound so bad. Like I heard a sound and I want to make that sound so bad. I have to figure out a way that this person can make this sound or something similar, which is a really strange thing when you break it down to say it that way, but it's what we all do. We're all chasing.
It really is.
Airwaves.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Yeah, it is. It's like, it's so strange how obsessive I am about that. Cause it's like when you're playing Mario and you make it to the end of the level, you feel that like incredible satisfaction. Like it's like when you get that sound in your head and then you play it, like that's like you just stumbled on a big old pile of gold coins. It's like the coolest feeling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And similarly, when you hit, an open E and everything's just right. It's like, oh, there it is. That's what I've been looking for.
Yeah. That, man, it's funny. I started like my whole, I guess like tone journey, I guess you could call it. Like, I think like 3 or 4 years ago is really when I started getting into like pedals and kind of becoming obsessive about my sound, because like I was just really driven to find my personal sound. Cause like, I mean, there are just so many different people, like guitar players, and when you hear Stevie, it's Stevie. When you hear Jimmy, it's Jimmy. And I was like, man, I want that. I want people to know it's me when they hear my guitar playing. So like, I just went on this like crazy like rabbit hole. Like, I mean, I would just buy pedals after pedal after pedal, and then at the end of the month have to sell them all again because I had to pay my rent. But like I tried so many different pedals, and when I found the OCD, it was like, oh my God, like I have found the sound that's in my head. And it's so crazy to think about gear and how gear affects, just like it affects everything. It's like in terms of music, like it's like the people who make pedals and amps, like other people don't understand. Like these are the people who are allowing artists to create, It's like when I heard that sound in my head and then I played the OCD, I was like, oh my God, it's coming to life, So it's like, I just feel like I owe so much to the people who make gear that it's kind of crazy. I think that's why I enjoyed NAMM so much.
So like, I agree with that. And I don't know if we maybe because we have such an abundance of it, it feels like to some people it's just a sort of a secondary thought. But even the fact that like, well, actually you're a good example. The fact that you could go to wherever you bought that guitar and spend $400 and start making a career out of it. That's pretty impressive. Epiphone / Gibson Group. Like,
I mean, it's, it's the coolest.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So cool.
It's and so like in a weird way, like you have the talent, you have the drive, you're the one doing it. But if there wasn't a guitar, it'd be hard to do what you do, It'd be hard to do what I do, for that matter. Like it's all based around the instrument, as much as the musician, because if that instrument didn't exist, that musician might not be a musician. It's a kind of a weird way to look at it, but it's almost the inverse of the tone is in the fingers type of thing. Well, if there was no guitar, there would be no tone. So I don't know if it's in the fingers totally.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny, like there's certain like gear that you use. Like, well, I got a pretty funny story, but I was on the road a couple of years ago, and my band and I stumbled into this bar in New York City called the Bitter End, and there was this band playing, and there was no one in the bar but the bartender and the band. And we walked in, and it was like free live music, and so we watched the band for a bit, and we were like, wow, they're like really good. They're like seasoned cats, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so they were like, we're gonna take a break. So they took a break, and then my drummer was like bold enough to be like, hey, we're on tour, man. Can we hop up and play a tune? So
Oh, wow.
yeah, they were like, cool, man, yeah, whatever, go for it. And so we used their gear, and it sounded completely different. Like it was so crazy. Like I was using a Strat and like a Boss, like one of those like uh, effect switchers that has everything built in, and like a Line 6 amp. And then my bass player was playing like some like 6-string kind of thing, and it was so crazy how different it sounded. So it's like it's the gear that you pick, and it's the gear that's, you know, made, but it's like so much like cooking. It's like the right combination will make the perfect storm, you know, of and like if I'm making sense, it's like the right guitar, the right person, the right gear, like that could create a career, you know, that can spark stuff. Um, so that's my story though. It was kind of funny how different it sounded.
Yeah, I mean, it's, and conversely, I've seen Billy Gibbons play through a battery amp and he still sounded like Billy Gibbons. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to be that guy to say that that's not part of it too. It's just, I've made this analogy over the years, and it's probably really tired, but I can't think of a better one. It was like, if tone was all in the fingers, then I think Cannibal Corpse would just leave those massive walls of amps at home and just play ukuleles if it didn't matter at all.
Yeah,
That'd be
totally.
a lot easier, right? Just bring
Yeah.
a travel guitar if it doesn't matter. It matters a little bit.
Yeah. Steinberger.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, yeah, crazy.
Crazy stuff. Speaking of crazy stuff, you've been around for a little bit now. What's the thing that that you're legally allowed to talk about? What's the craziest thing you've seen while touring?
Oh man, while touring. Okay, well, I just got off a tour with this incredible band called Black Pistol Fire, and they're so rowdy. It's the most fun show to watch. But I went on a support run with them, and I think it was like the coolest thing. But so there was one night in Detroit when the lead singer Kevin, it was like during their set, and he's notorious for crowd surfing and just like being insane during their performances. So like we were watching him, and then he was playing, and then he crowd surfed a little, and then he made it to the back of the venue where the bar was, and he stood on top of the bar with his guitar, and he was still playing. And then he grabbed a shot from the bartender, slammed the shot, and just kept playing, and then continued to crowd surf back to the stage. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So cool.
That's fantastic.
I was like, all right, I'm going to have to learn how to do that now.
Oh, yeah. That's got to be your new stage move, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got to learn how to crowd surf.
Have you not crowd surfed before?
I haven't.
What?
I haven't done it. Yeah, I need to do it.
Wow. Okay. Well,
yeah. Have you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've done it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, I come up in the punk scene and, all that stuff. So that comes with the territory. Of course, maybe not necessarily. I was and am not that big of a person. So it's a lot easier for me to like tap my big buddy on the shoulder and be like, hey, throw me up there. And then they do. Versus if he did it to me, I'd be like, no, buddy, that's just not gonna happen. So
Yeah.
I have had guys tap me on the shoulder at concerts before, and I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'll give it the old college try.
Yeah.
but yeah, I've done it. The key is you gotta spread out. Like, you don't want to be all on one person. You got to get as wide as you can. That way,
Okay.
you're not crushing somebody. As even if you're little, if you're just all on one person, it's a lot to deal with. So
okay, so move swiftly. Okay,
move swiftly. Yeah, once you're up, you got to get wide, and then
okay.
and then keep your head on a swivel because you don't know what's going to happen next. So
right,
that's my advice.
Sounds so awesome.
That's about as much control as you have. It's surfing is a very apt term. You have about as much control over the crowd as you do an ocean. So you just go with it.
Sounds good. I cannot wait.
It'll happen. Yeah, you can get crowd surfing one of these days, real soon.
Yeah, give me probably a month or so to get my I guess what's the muscle you use most? Is it the core?
Yeah, that's definitely a core situation for sure.
All right, maybe a couple of months
abs. Then. Yeah, you're gonna want to get your CrossFit in before the next tour, I think.
Okay, I can do that.
So you went into the studio, and I'm imagining that was just the best thing for a gearhead like yourself. Did you just go nuts, or what happened? What was the process like?
It was so much fun. I had been trying to make that record for, I think, 3 years. I had it completely written, and I mean, the music industry is so insane. So it's like getting funding for that record was it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I finally got a publishing deal, and they helped me with the record funding, and I got 2 full weeks in the studio, which is all I needed. And it was great. I did so much pre-production for it. I did a lot of studying. I studied Motown arrangements, like we were talking about. Studied a lot of pop arrangements. I studied a lot of lyrics and little tricks that pop writers use. And then I studied so much guitar tone. I listened to Songs for the Deaf front and back so many times. And I just researched, okay, how did they get this tone? What mics did they use? What amps did they use? Where did they place the mic? And there, I made a couple of my own mics. There was I was like, I need some weird sounding mics. So I'm going to just make my own. So I basically took apart this Fender, solid state Fender Frontman 15. Okay. So it was really, really, so I basically took the speaker out of it and made it a microphone. And it was very low end, just kind of unusable. I was like, okay, I got that option. And then I had this old Urban Outfitters record player that was it sounded so bad. And so I was like, this thing needs to go anyway. It's on its last leg. So I took the speakers out of that, the really small rectangular speakers, and I made 2 microphones out of those speakers. And those actually ended up underneath the drum kit, the whole record. So they're this really kind of crunchy, super small sounding mics. So they were underneath the drums the whole time. And my producer and engineer.
Hold on real quick. I got to know.
Yeah.
Where were they under the drums roughly? Were they both in the same position, or where were they? Because I'm wondering if one of my theories is right now.
So it was near the kick. It was if you're sitting at the drum kit, it was to the right of the kick and in between the floor tom, and kind of under the cymbal. Okay.
Yeah. I thought there was one by the kick, because I was like, there's something to this drum that I'm not. It's like a reverb, but it's not a reverb. I'm like, there's a little something to this drum hit that I couldn't figure out what it was. That has to be.
It's got to be that. It's got to be, because Ben Tanner, who produced and engineered the record, he's amazing. He's the best guy. But he was like, he usually uses those like bullet harmonica mics underneath drums. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
can we try this? Like, I just want to try this. Like, I know I made it. It's probably not going to sound good, but I want to try it anyway. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And we ended up using it the whole record. And like, yeah, it's like blended into every track.
That's so cool. That's so weird. I wasn't even gonna ask you about the drums, but I remember picking that up. I was just like, what is that? That is something. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't know. It sounds good. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's
That is
kind of crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I interrupted you though. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No. I forgot what we were talking about. I'm
Oh, we're
sorry. I
talking
have
about
kind
the
of
recording process. So you're
yeah.
making microphones,
Oh yeah, I
and
was making
then
mics. Yeah,
yes,
and
studying and making mics. That's where we were going. You were studying and making mics.
studying, making mics. Yeah, and I basically raided my closet of. I mean, I'm sure you know this game, but I hoard basically everything that I've ever had gear wise.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So I took my two Panasonic multi-track little recorders that I mentioned earlier. I still have them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. I've got a
grab
Tascam laying
those.
around here somewhere. This is awesome.
Oh man, yeah. Um, and then I had my Casio that I had since I was little. Um, and that thing's crazy too. It's like it's so old, and it's even advertised like now with MIDI. It's like right when like MIDI was like really cool, like really just kind of getting its feet. But it's like now with MIDI is like an advertising point for it. But um, yeah, so I used that, and then there was also this little thing that my mom got me when I was first starting to write, and it's the Boss. No, the Roland BR600, I think is what it's called, and it's like a little digital multi-tracker, but there's like built-in sounds, and so much of the guitar came from that actually, like the layered parts. So like the basis of the guitar tones were definitely like blasting amps, with different kinds of amps. So like I had like an AC30 that was just like about to just blow up, and then my concert reverb also about to blow up because of how loud they were, and then like a couple of other really really just low budget amps that I was given by like friends because they were like, we don't want this anymore, do you want it? But yeah, I had like a couple of little Fender solid states and those two amps, and so like I had those were like the core tone, and then on top of that, like I needed some like shimmery stuff, and like basically like trying to fill the entire EQ spectrum with within the range of the guitar. So like I had the amps, and then I had that BR600, like a lot of the weirdo, like I guess ethereal noises in the track are from that. And then I also had this massive like experimental pedal board that I built alongside my other pedal board that I use for live stuff. But the big one had like everything on it. It's like even stuff that I didn't like, like pedals that I have that I'm like, why did I buy this? Why is this here?
Put it on the big board.
Yeah. I put everything on there. I even had one of those little like those cigarette box amps. They're like $30,
Oh yeah, the little Smokies.
Yeah. I had one of those, so I was like, I'm just gonna just max this out, and we're gonna try everything. I had every different guitar in there. I had there's this really amazing store in Austin called Rock and Roll Rentals, and they have just every guitar. So I rented like 9 different guitars, and I was like I rented like a Nashville Telly, a Strat, a P90, like Godin or something like that, something weird. And then my bass player rented a couple different basses, and a lot of the guitar tone is just layered up, like Telly, Gibson, my Sheridan, and then I had this like really, really horrible Strat. It's like a Strat Mini or something that I played. So it's like that, like layered, just like every little different texture just kind of creates this one cool sound. Like that was the vibe that I was trying to go for with the guitar tone on the record. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of experimenting.
Mission accomplished. It sounds awesome. I mean, that was like one of my big takeaways from it was like, oh, this sounds so good. Listen to that fuzzy riff. Like I was like, oh man, this is so great. But the way you were describing that process, it was, even though we do totally different things musically, but that was very similar to the process when we were recording guitars. It was just like how many, the only difference is we have 3 gear addicted guitar players in the band.
Yeah.
So it was always, there's just like, it's just a ridiculous amount of stuff to choose from. But that's what we did. We tried to, like you said, fill out the whole spectrum of what the guitar is supposed to do. And that's what we shot for. And it was so very much the same process as what you were talking about. It's like, where's this little amp going to go? Let's put it in this frequency range.
Yeah, totally. So awesome. It's like the most fun.
Did you do a lot of reamping or did you replay the parts?
Ooh, I just replayed the part. There was, there was this like part in the process where Ben was like, do you want me to take this and split the signal so it's coming out of 2 amps, or do you want to double it? And I was like, we have to double it. Like, it sounds way cooler when it's just played twice, It's just like you get the different harmonics and like so interesting. It's
a weird really studio trick that actually what I've found is it actually accentuates the human component of the playing. And it's weird because it's actually a part of the playing that we haven't really been able to replicate super well with technology. You've got the mimic, and that gets pretty close, especially in stereo.
Right.
And there, I think Keeley's got one, but I'm not sure if it's stereo or not. I can't remember. It's probably is.
It's not. It's the 30-second double tracker.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just
not
mono.
Stereo. Okay, see, that's kind of an oops there. I think that effect is like, if you're gonna get it, it's got to be at least stereo, if not triple. Let's get crazy.
For sure. Yeah,
but it's weird. It's like it's a very human thing. We're trying to get a machine to recreate, and we haven't really got it yet. Which it's timing. So you would think we would be able to get some sort of algorithm that could make it work well, and we don't. We don't really. It still sounds better just to play it again most of the time.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's like music still needs humans,
I'm okay with letting a little machine in there, but yeah, it still needs us, I feel like.
Still,
I think. Please don't kill us.
You never know when those robots are going to come to life.
It's been talked about on this show before. When do you think the robots are going to come?
Oh, man. They're probably already here. We have no idea.
Oh, good point. If maybe we realized they were here, they would have failed in their mission.
Oh, my God. Blowing my mind.
So we're talking. So you're going reality simulation on this thing. You think we're living in a reality simulation.
Oh,
sorry, this is getting a lot weirder than you signed up for, isn't it?
No. Man, I love that.
I just wanted to talk about guitar pedals. I didn't want to talk about interdimensional lizard people. What kind of podcast is this?
Man, I will talk all day about aliens. I love aliens.
You want to talk about aliens?
We're at 47 minutes.
I'd like to talk about. I would really like to talk about aliens with you. Let's talk about aliens for a little bit.
Really?
What? Yeah, let's talk about aliens. What do you want to talk about aliens? What do you? What's on your mind right now regarding extraterrestrial activity?
Oh man, you know what? UFOs are real. Also, I have this theory that the Earth is a giant brain, and we are all electrons. Yes, we're all electrons.
Just whizzing around.
Just whizzing around. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to back that theory, but it's just a theory.
But it would make a good comic book.
It would. It sure would.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. You can have that one
I'd
for
read it.
free, Marvel. Like, yeah, just do it for me. But what makes you think? What makes you think that UFOs are real?
Oh man, I've seen one. I saw one.
Oh, okay, all right. Hold this phone. Tell me
Yeah.
more about this. I want to know more. This is fascinating.
Here we
to me.
go.
And
Yeah,
you have to know, and the audience needs to know. I'm not at all poking fun. I am of the thought that universe is a big place. I don't know. I'm not saying.
Huge.
I've never experienced it. I've seen some people have some pretty convincing arguments, and I've had some people who had some very non-convincing arguments. So let's see where Emily lies.
Yeah. No, I didn't get the vibe at all that you were poking fun. So no worries on that front. Yeah, not at all. But okay, so I was in college and I was going over to a friend's house and I was driving and there's this part of Austin that was like, it has no light. And it was like kind of an underdeveloped part of Austin. And so I was driving and I saw this light in the sky that just looked super different. And so I followed it, like I was following it on the road. And I came to this cul-de-sac and I stopped and then the light stopped and then it started coming towards me. And I was like, oh my God. And so I like zoomed the other way because I was so scared. And then I got to my friend's house and I told her, I was like, oh my God, I think I just saw a UFO. And she was like, no way. Like, that's not true. And we went outside and we were just kind of like looking in the sky. And this thing, I swear to you, made zero noise. It was dead silent. And it just slowly like gravitated past us, like very low. And I never saw it again.
Like how low would you guess? 100 feet?
I'm not very good at feet stuff, but but it was really
a football
low.
Field? Like a football field or so?
Way lower than that. It was probably like somebody like the roof of a house. That's how low it was.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
and then
that's low.
And I've never felt weirder in my life than I did looking at that thing because it was so close.
What shape?
It was a
did
triangle. It was a triangle, and it had 3 red like lights on all the tips of the triangle, and that was it.
And
so
was
I mean,
it
could have been a military. It was red,
like a white
so
light.
There were red lights, and then
then red or tip. Wait, I'm getting confused. I'm trying to picture your triangle. So we got a like a white light triangle with red tips. Is that right, or did I miss something?
No. Okay, so it was a triangle, and on the top of the triangle, and then the 3 points of the triangle.
Okay.
There were red circular lights, like small.
Oh, and then, I got you. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then in the center, there was this like white kind of light that was bigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picturing it now. Okay.
It was crazy. And it could have been some kind of military thing, but I would like to believe that it was a UFO.
I mean, as the little girl meme says, why not both? It could be both. I mean, government's up to a lot of shenanigans. We know that for an undeniable fact. We know the universe is a big place. We know that for a fact. Well, I'm not ruling anything out. I'm just saying. Just putting it out there. I believe you. I believe you saw something crazy.
That means a lot to me.
You've not given me any reason not to believe you. You're saying all the right tone things.
I mean, people are like, I don't believe that. I just don't believe it. And even I have Googled the image and other people have seen this image. So like, I'm one of those people who saw it.
Oh, now you're making me worried. I don't know if I want to walk outside because the time I came in, it was light outside and this studio has no windows. I'm sure you've experienced this before. And then you walk back outside and it's dark and it kind of trips you out for a minute.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to see this 3 this triangle UFO thing now. Now maybe I'm just gonna live in the studio. Not sure I'm prepared to see something like that.
I hope you see it, because it truly was like really cool, but also very scary. It was like such an adrenaline rush.
Did you get a vibe off of it? Like any kind of vibe?
Yes.
Like, ooh, this is a bit threatening, or what?
Yeah. I got a danger vibe. Like I was like, you need to get away.
Oh,
it was really,
man,
really scary.
I was
but
hoping
I wanted
it was a
more.
friendly vibe. This is freaking me out a little bit. Not gonna lie. It's dark outside. I'm all by myself out in this room. Could be aliens outside. All right.
Good.
We're getting close. We're getting close to the end. I don't want to leave people freaked out. What we needed people to do is, you got a tour coming up. Where are you gonna go? Tell people where you're going.
Yeah, so I'm going to a bunch of different places. I'm going to Little Rock. Starts on July 17th. And then I'm heading to Nashville for Summer NAMM. And I'll be in Atlanta, Lexington, Kentucky, Newport, Kentucky, Sheboygan, Minneapolis, Evanston, Illinois. And then I go back to Austin for a bit. And then a couple days later, I go on out to LA for the Bluesapalooza Fest. And then I hit Sacramento and San Francisco and then LA. And then that's the little run for July and August.
That's a big run. That's a lot. So everybody,
Yeah.
if you heard a date close to you, go check it out. Do it. Seriously, you won't regret it. Do it.
Come on by. It'll be a lot of
Come
fun.
on out. All right. This is we're getting close to the last couple questions, and I would probably be in bad trouble if I didn't ask you what your favorite boss pedal was.
My favorite boss pedal is the Super Shifter. Without a doubt.
Good call.
PS5.
Super Shifter. Yes.
Yes, it is so cool. Wacky.
I've noticed people are way quicker on the draw with that question than I had thought that they would be. Most people are like, boom, they know their favorite boss pedal like immediately, which is kind of awesome. I don't know what it is.
That is awesome.
Like, it's very little thinking on that one. This one, however, you know what's coming. What kind of pizza do you like?
Oh man, I like all kinds of pizza. You know what? As far as chains, I'm a Domino's girl.
Okay.
As far as local pizza in Austin, Hoboken Pie, and then let's see, and then I just really love all pizza. It's like my favorite food.
Do you thin crust it, thick crust? Or do you just not care? It's just like, it's pizza. Get in my belly.
Oh man, it depends on how the stomach's feeling. But normally, even if my stomach is feeling bad, I'll eat whatever is there. If it's thick crust and I feel horrible, I'm gonna eat it. Anyway, because it's pizza and it's the best.
Because it's pizza. It's a crime not to.
Yeah,
I think
it really is.
That's how I feel about it.
What's your favorite type of pizza?
Oh, see, yeah, I get that a lot. And I kind of go between two like main styles. I love a good New York slice. I really, really came to love New York pizza after going there a few times. And that I crave all the time. But I also am fortunate to live by some really good like Italian style wood-fired places. Like kind of New Haven-ish. Yeah, so we got a really good one that's really close. That I just love, and I've been mixing it up there a little bit lately. I've been getting their sopressata with hot chilies instead of their multicarne, which is their multiple meat one. So hot chilies and the wood-fired pizza it's a really nice combo. So that's where I'm at right now.
That sounds so good. I'm gonna get some after this.
Okay. You probably should. I mean, treat yourself. This has been a real treat. I've really, really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for hanging out and nerding out and all this stuff. This has been just amazing.
Oh my God, likewise. It's been so much fun. I can't believe after all the episodes I've listened to that I am on one.
Oh,
So
this is
cool.
phenomenal. Well, you said you're going to be at Summer NAMM. I haven't booked it yet, but I am definitely planning on it. So hopefully we can fist bump, you know?
Oh my God. Yeah. And get some pizza.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any last thing you'd like to tell anybody before we sign off here?
Man, just keep on playing.
I like it.
Is that okay?
That works. That works.
Keep
That's a
on
great thing to
playing.
keep on playing, people.
Keep on pizza.
Keep on pizza and pedaling and fuzzing and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
It's what makes life worth living.
For real. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, I just want to say this podcast is awesome, and I've learned so much. And thanks for having me, and for spreading all the knowledge and everything that you've all the knowledge that you've given people. It's great, and it really has helped me. I know that. So, thank you.
Wow. Thank you. I thought I was just talking about pizza, but that means a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. For Emily, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. Psych. Just kidding. It's not the end of the episode. We thought it was. We really did. Well, we started talking about some stuff on the Patreon episode, specifically at the very tail end of the Patreon episode, that I thought probably deserved to be public. And so we went ahead and used that. So if you listen to the intro, you know this already, but if you're looking at your podcast player wondering why there's still a bunch of time left, it's because there's more podcasts. So here is what Emily had to say in the Patreon section, which is now public, and I did something else for the Patreon folks. Also, before I forget, huge shout out to Dave from the Heavy Reverb podcast. He helped out with some noise issues that I could not get sorted out in this episode. So huge shout out to him. Make sure you check out his podcast, and thank you so much, Dave. You helped so much. Okay, on to the rest of the episode. Boom. We are in Patreon land. Emily, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great.
I'm really trying not to make the dumb joke I make every time. So I'm trying to, it's so hard. Okay.
Make it.
I got to do it anyway. It's nice in here, isn't it? It's a lot better than it was over in that other lame podcast area where just anybody can listen. I mean, this is where the cool kids hang out.
This is where the VIP snacks lie.
That's right. This is where you can get every kind of dip for your Fritos.
Hot pizza.
Yeah, that's right. Hot pizza. Have you ever had any weird snacks? Like, what's the weirdest snack you've ate just out when you're out touring around doing things?
I got it right here. I'll tell you.
Okay.
I went to a baseball game in Baltimore, and they have crab dip French fries, and it was weird, but it was really good.
It sounds like both of those things. Yes, crab dip French fries.
They were like waffle fries with crab dip. On top.
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah, from the ballpark.
I would eat that up like no one's business. Wow.
Yeah, and then they put like Old Bay seasoning on it. There's like, they have like the condiment little counters, and it's like there's ketchup, mustard, relish, and Old Bay. And you put that on your fries, and then that's it.
Perfect. I would watch a ball game and eat crab covered French fries. I'm not too, I'm an American. I'll eat that good old American food. I forgot about something that I wanted to ask you about on the main podcast, but I guess now is as good a time as any. What were you I didn't really get to, I was so in the whirlwind haze of NAMM, I didn't really get to catch, what were you doing up at the Gibson booth at NAMM in this last winter?
Ooh, I was doing a couple of things. There was a panel for the She Shreds magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, so there was like five 5 different women. It was me, Nancy Wilson, um, and man, I unfortunately forgot their names, but there were 3 other women, and they were great. And it was just a panel of guitar playing ladies, and we were talking about guitar and tones and a bunch of other stuff and the music industry as a whole. And Nancy Wilson had some really cool stuff to say. Yeah, I think one of the coolest things that I heard her say was that I never thought of a guitar this way, but she was like, when you're playing a guitar, you're holding a weapon. It can shield you, and it can also, lead you into battle. And I was like, oh my god! Like, as a Game of Thrones fan, I was like all over that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
accurate, though. I mean, it goes all the way back to, the pre-electric days with, Woody Guthrie and this machine kills fascists and all this stuff. It's like, that's true.
Yeah.
It is true. Like, it's not direct. It's not as direct as an actual, confrontation. But
Yeah.
I really do think that specifically the electric guitar for, whatever reason, it's held up despite what some detractors want to say. It's been around for a long time, and it's still cool. Like,
Yeah.
it's still cool. Like, it's so cool that rappers have to pick it up and try to figure it out. Like,
Right. Yeah.
it's a cool thing to do, to play the electric guitar. Of course, people like me make it extra nerdy, but it's still cool in a lot of ways. And I think that a lot of artists have successfully used it to, point out societal ills and drive their message forward, whatever that might be. So she's 100% right in saying that.
Yeah. Totally. So cool. It was super cool to listen to her talk. And yeah, so there was the panel, and then I just did a performance a little later that day.
Oh, awesome.
Same day. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Performing at the Gibson booth, that's got to be kind of trippy, right?
It was pretty great. Yeah.
I would have freaked out if it was me. Of course, I wouldn't. I'm not good enough, so I would never be given that opportunity. But it's okay.
That's not true.
That's for people like you. That's what that's for. Yes. But I'll be honest. I wanted to bring you back to talk about music and stuff, but I also would like to talk a little bit more aliens, and I hope everyone's okay with that.
I'm absolutely okay with that. I know I am. Yes. Let's talk.
All right. So I got really into the aliens. I got way less into it when I was older, but when I was a teenager and like a youth, I guess, I was pretty into it. I was really into the Foo Fighters, both the band and the roots of where that name comes from, and researching all this old stuff. I didn't get so far into where I actually like super believed things, but I was hyper interested on the surface level. So I'd like to know, like, what's your history with the extraterrestrial stuff, beyond your sighting that you shared with us.
Yeah, man, I think I just have always wanted to see an alien. Like, it's one of my like biggest hopes for myself is just to like see what an alien looks like. Like, do they look like us? Like, what do they look like, And then, like, I'm just so obsessed with aliens. And I watch Ancient Aliens all the time on History Channel, Conspiracy Files, the whole 9 yards. Like, I've got this little patch on my jacket that I wear at every show that says I want to leave, and it's like of someone being abducted, and it's like like I want to be abducted so bad, because I just want to see what it's like where this world is not the only thing I have to choose from, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like that sounds kind of like weird, but it's like when you go into a store, you have a certain, like when you go into a clothing store, you have a certain selection of things. And it's like, well, if I could make something, I could have an entirely new selection of stuff, like, I don't know if this is making sense at all, but it's like, this is the world as it is. This is what it is. what else is there? You know, like
I see. I feel like you feel like maybe Earth is like your local convenience store. It's got everything you need, but it's not
Right.
necessarily what you want. And so
Exactly.
you're looking for the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
That is exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
I get I get it.
I mean,
I
I love Earth, you know, I'm a big fan, but I would love to see what other options there are.
Do you think we could handle it? You think that if there's a species that is advanced enough that it can come physically be here and also somehow have figured out the way we understand space time works to where they don't like get super old when they go back? That's always been my thing. It's like if they're here, that means they can't go back. It almost means like they can't take us with them unless they have some sort of crazy technology we don't know about. Because like, you know how like if you're on Mars or whatever, this is such typical podcasting right now.
It's amazing.
This is just what every podcast is, except when they're supposed to have a central topic like guitar pedals, they start talking about aliens. But but like I always thought, like I think on Mars you would like age way faster, and then if you like were there for a couple days and you came back to Earth, I'm getting my math all wrong. I don't know which planet this happens on, but you come back to Earth and you're all old because you were on Mars too long. I don't know if that's real, but it kind of makes sense. I don't know.
Wow. You know what? That is a cool theory. It's like maybe that's why they'd try not to visit us, because they would be stuck in our realm. Like they'd be like no longer, they couldn't access their intelligence that they have in other worlds. Yeah.
Well, I think that by the unless time is relative, like what Einstein talks about all the time, then like he still talks about it because he's alive. No.
He's still doing it. Shut
Wait
up.
Wait a minute, Blake. You've got some bigger problems if Einstein's still talking. But I don't know. I get nerdy about stuff once in a while, and I'm like, maybe they're real, maybe they're out there. I don't know. But you've seen some crazy stuff. Could have been government, but could have been an alien. I don't know.
Man, if it was an alien, I would just like, God, it's just so amazing. Like, I think, okay, so you asked earlier, like, could we handle it?
Yeah.
I think that it would just be like the most like adrenaline fueled experience that we would die. Like, and that's what I'm looking for. So,
that's a little
like, cause I mean, it's like in the most, like the least like dark way. It's like, I'm not trying to die, but I'm trying to be that hyped up. You know what I mean? I think that's like why I love playing music live, because it's just such a rush. Like I love that rush,
Oh man. I think then maybe this, it shows off a difference of personality. I've only played live a handful of times because I'm just like I don't really get nervous. Like I could public speak all day. That would be no problem. I don't really mind even singing, but like for some reason playing guitar in front of people, I'm like, I don't mind pre-recorded. I can do that just fine. But like, man, playing live, I turn into a different person. It's a weird thing. My fingers don't work. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, or at least I feel like they don't. I don't think it's as bad as I make it sound in my head, but it feels really bad in the moment sometimes.
Oh man, yeah, that's definitely a difference in us. But you know what? I respect it.
I don't know. It's been so long since I've done it. Maybe that's the biggest problem. I'm just like, I don't want anyone to hear me play unless I've recorded it first and approved it, and then people can listen to it. not a minute before. I don't know.
You know what? There are similarities in that though with you and I. Like I am terrified of someone listening to me practice. Like I have to have the thing perfected if I'm going to go on stage. Like I think that's where it is. Like I can't just go up there without being completely prepared for anything that could go wrong. Because it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's where the adrenaline comes from. It's like something could go wrong, but I'll be prepared. But yeah.
I know this. The next time you have a technical failure, as long as it isn't a microphone, you got to tell your alien story.
Oh, yes, that's a great idea.
Well, I just did Mike Herrera's podcast here not too long ago from MXPX, and on it he was talking about like his podcasting side kicked in one night because they had a major failure with one of the amps. And so he's like, well, we're not going to be done like fixing this for several minutes, like for a while, and people are going to get irritated. So he just grabbed the mic and just started talking. And I feel like that's a great thing, that if you have someone in your band that can pull that off, you should, like, that should be your MO for technical failures. If you got a member that can just kind of go, that you should just grab the microphone. Just, all right, listen, we got a little bit of a problem, but in the meantime, I'm gonna tell you a story.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, that's way more interesting than just watching guys fumble around on stage. So tell the alien story next time.
Yeah, you know what? There was when I first started playing live, like I was back in college, and there was this battle of the bands that I was like determined to win. And like I was like, I'm gonna win this thing. This is like gonna like really be like the starting line to my career. This is battle of the bands.
Yeah.
So I entered this battle of the bands, and I practiced and I got this little band together, and I had a couple of songs, and we got 2 songs per band. So like it was my turn to go up, and I got up there and just nothing worked. And I was like, oh no, like, but luckily when I was 18 and 19, a lot of people don't know this, but I used to do stand-up comedy. That was like my first kind of, it was like my first like experience with the stage. Cause I just like, I don't know. I mean, I just love the stage, and I don't know. I like making people laugh and stuff. So like I tried it out, and I pulled that out during the technical failure, and
Nice.
and I ended up winning Battle of the Bands, and even with that, so it's like, yes, if you can tell some stories, and do a little comedy, win the audience over during that trying time, yes, you can win Battle of the Bands.
Pro tip from Emily Wolfe. Look at that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So okay, now we got to take a couple steps back, because as scared as I am to play unperfected things in front of people, I should have like maybe prefaced it. Like if I'm practiced up, I'm okay. But like sometimes we're like, hey, just sit in with us. I'm like, oh boy, no way. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
But like the only thing I can think of that would be probably harder from a performing standpoint would be stand-up comedy. I mean,
oh my God. Yeah.
that sounds so brutal. So brutal. I couldn't do it. I tried it one time at a friend's birthday parties. We were all roasting each other, and I tried it, and I am, again, these are all my friends, and I don't get nervous in front of crowds, and I was just like, I have to make them laugh. Can't imagine what that'd be like in front of strangers. Is it as bad as I'm thinking?
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, the thing is, it's like, it's one of those things that's so incredibly addicting when it does go right, that it's like when people are laughing like so hard at something that you wrote because you want them to laugh at it. It's like, that's another little tidbit of like the feeling of when you find that perfect guitar tone that you've been looking for. You know, it's like that little, oh my God, I finished this Mario level. Like, it's such a cool feeling. But the return on investment for comedy emotionally is very low. It's like that's why I quit. Cause you know, like I mean, there was this other competition called Funniest Person in Austin contest that I did. And I got in, like, there was like 200 something people who went in it and did it. And I got to like the top 15. And I was like, man, maybe I could, I was like, maybe I could do this, you know, maybe I could actually try and pursue this for a career. But I mean, so I had that one little glimmer of hope, and then every single little gig after that was just downhill hard. And so I was like, no, I'm going to stick
Just
with music. This is not for
just
me. So,
just bombing, just night after night.
oh
Just
my God. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, how, I mean, when, when I'm playing music, even if there's two people in the crowd, I can still escape into my music and it's not bad, But
right.
with comedy, it's so dependent on the audience that it's like there's no escape. If you're bombing, you're just head first into it, So it's like, yeah, anyone who can make a lifelong career or even a short career out of comedy is like just so like such a strong person. It takes so much emotional strength to do that.
I've been told it takes a lot of crazy too. Would that be
Oh
accurate?
yeah. Yes. Yes. You'd have to be pretty insane to be successful at comedy, I would say. Even to do it. I mean, but there's also like an element of like bravery and but again, there's no escape if you're bombing. So zero. You don't have that shield, that guitar shield.
That's exactly
You're
what I was
just
gonna
like
say.
just head first into just blood and guts.
Yeah, there's no defense.
Yeah.
You're just gonna get skewered, and that's all there is
Yep,
to it.
that's it.
Accept
That's
your
it.
fate. Just roll with it.
Yeah.
What would you say? Who would you say is crazier, having had toes in both worlds, musicians or comedians?
Comedians, no doubt.
Interesting.
For sure. Yeah.
Because the public perception is of like the rock star driving his, Cadillac into the pool and something and stuff like that. That doesn't get talked about as much in comedy, I should say.
It's interesting because, I've read a lot of bios, like books and stuff about comedians, but I read Steve Martin's Born Standing Up, and I learned a lot about the personality type of a comedian. It's interesting because the best comedians are just so incredibly shy, like off stage. And it's like very much in their heads and like just like kind of drowning in their own emotion. But then when they get on stage, they release all of it. And it's like when a comedian's on stage, it's like if they're basically, this is going to come out kind of wrong, I think, hopefully not. But it's like they're seeking the approval of others, just like everybody else on stage. It's like you're seeking approval, and like the best, musicians are ones who are just doing it for themselves and, don't really care at all what their audience thinks, but to me at least. But yeah, it's crazy how different the stage persona of a comedian can be from the daily life of a comedian, the daily, just everyday personality. But yeah, I don't think I had that level of crazy. At least I hope I didn't. But I mean, it was pretty wild that I even did it. But I mean, it did prepare me for the stage as a musician. I had a better command of it, I think, just having that horrible bomb experience, just like knowing how brutal a stage can be, and then letting it be that brutal territory, but still taking it on.
I feel like that's the most brutal. You can't blame a sound guy. You can't blame a drummer. You can't blame anyone.
No,
it's just like
no blame.
I wasn't funny tonight, I guess.
And
everyone just they either booed me off the stage or just maybe even worse, sat there in silence. And it's like, I can't. I just, my skin is crawling.
Yeah,
just thinking about something like that. Oh man.
Yeah,
I can't. But I could do it with a guitar. I could physically do that with a guitar. If I was like trying to be funny with a guitar, if I had that between me, I would feel much more comfortable. Way more comfortable.
For sure. Yeah. It's great. Guitar. It's the best.
Is guitar like, other than it's, obviously it's your instrument, it's how you make your living, it's very, very important to you. You just spent almost an hour and a half talking about guitar stuff on the internet.
Uh-huh.
I find it very. I still, even though I'm surrounded with it all day, every day. Sometimes it's still the thing I need to wind down. Like it's still very much a therapeutic exercise for me to play, even though it's become kind of my whole world. Is that
Yeah.
is that the same for you? Do you still have that same kind of zen when you get in the groove?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. I mean, it's almost like, well, okay. So when I'm playing live and I'm on stage, it's just such an escape from reality that it's like I don't have to worry about anything. I don't like have to worry um about anything other than those six strings and the pedals and how I sound, and that's like that's the coolest escape for me. Um and that's like my release, really, is my, because like the 45 minutes that I do get to be on stage, like I feel like my whole life is like leading up to those little pockets of time. It's like because I kind of internalize my emotions pretty deep, and then I just let them out on stage, and I think that's why I love doing it so much, because I get to release everything. So
Yeah.
it's very therapeutic. And then winding down too, like if I'm anxious, yeah, I just pick up a guitar and um I mean, it used to be substances is what I used to pick up, but now I pick up guitar, and I've been sober for, let's see, 4 years and a few months.
Oh
Yeah,
wow!
it's been, yeah, yeah.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think that's also a reason why I love gear so much, is because it's my cross addiction. Like um,
Ah.
it yeah, it's that, and it's like, okay, if I put all my focus into this, then I can have something to obsess over, and it's healthy. I mean, it's nerdy, but it's healthy. So
It's healthy. That's right. Did you hear that, honey? It's healthy.
healthy stuff.
It's healthy what I'm doing out here. It's fine. It's totally
Yeah,
normal.
yeah.
um that that's really interesting. I didn't know that about you. Is that something that you want to talk about at all? Was the guitar part of helping you through that time, or is that, would you rather kind of leave that alone?
Uh, sure. Oh man, I'm an open book. Yeah, I'll talk
Okay.
about it. Yeah, yeah. I'll try not to get too dark.
I mean, you do whatever you want. I mean, this is your show as much as it is mine at this point.
Oh man. Um. Okay. Well, so I it's interesting. I started my music career um without really knowing like the ins and outs of how it worked. Um. And I would play, night after night, and just get so frustrated that no one was listening to me. And it became this like thing where it's like, if I don't have the attention of every single person in the room, then I failed. So it's like that would kind of lead me to this rabbit hole of like drinking. And so um, I drank for a long, long time, every day for a few years. And I ended up getting like an injury. I don't really know what happened. I think I may have blacked out, but I ended up getting a brain bleed. And so I was in the hospital for that. And that kind of turned things around for me. But I stopped drinking. And then it's interesting because I was playing really, really sad acoustic music while I was in the midst of my addiction. And then once I got sober, I started playing like heavy rock. So it's like, that's like what I wanted to do. Um, and it's crazy because drinking was like masking that. Like I didn't know, like, hey, this is how you release your emotions. You don't have to drown yourself in bottles. So, yeah, rock and roll is pretty much the reason why I'm alive. And, a lot of people say rock and roll saved my life, but it really did. I mean, it's, the guitar has saved me in more ways than one, but that's the story in a nutshell. But yeah.
That's really powerful that it can have, that big of an impact. And it's awesome to hear that's something you were able to use to come out of that period.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think it's useful for others that if they're hearing this right now and maybe going through something similar, that maybe they need to look at I'm sure there's not any non-guitarists listening this deep into this podcast, but so I'm
Yeah.
saying maybe you need to look at it, not only as this thing you enjoy, maybe it's something you need to replace what you're doing right now. I'm just speaking to anybody that might be in a similar spot. Sometimes they need to hear a story like yours. I think it's really important to put that stuff out there. I understand why somebody wouldn't want to, because it's raw and it's a really difficult thing to deal with for a lot of people. But a lot of people are
Yeah.
going through it, and the more that can hear from people like you, I think the better. So thank you for sharing all that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think everybody goes through these kinds of things for a reason. And if I were to keep it to myself, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to people who might need to hear stuff like that. And, yeah, I mean, the music business is it's so bizarre and so, taxing, like emotionally and spiritually. And there's so much that goes into, like, you know, there's a lot of rejection that musicians have to face at a certain level, and it's like it can get really, really, really just bad. I mean, it really affected me emotionally for a while, and then I just started playing, and I was like, oh, this is how I can release my emotions. Just find my sound, and once I find my sound, I'll be able to really release my emotions properly, the way that they're meant to be released. And so, um, that's really what keeps me sober, and hopefully somebody's listening and they can relate to it. I know, yeah, it's a tough business, and it doesn't get easier. But the cool thing is, like, playing live is the escape from it. And if you can make that your escape, then you're set, because you get to escape from it, for 45 minutes every night, or however often you play. So yeah, it'll make your show that much better, at least if the reason you're playing is to release what you have inside of you.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Wow, that's really incredible. And yeah, again, thank you for sharing all that with everybody. I think that stuff, while it's difficult, it's important. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Is all I can say.
Oh yeah.
I'm not used to quite going there. I haven't really gone into that territory since Robert Keeley, long time ago, and so I'm still not really. There's not really a good way to transition out of it. So I just don't think there is.
That's totally cool.
But is there any, since we're on that subject, is there any resources that you have for people that were helpful for you during that time?
Yeah. Music Cares is a great organization that serve artists and musicians facing addiction. So check out Music Cares. If you're in Austin, there's an organization called Sims, and they do the same thing on a local scale. But other than that, oddly, I mean, watching Intervention, I mean, it's depressing, but if you're sober and you're watching it shows you, like, hey, this could be me, but it's not me. It was me, but it's not me now. Yeah. So that's kind of what I do. Yeah, and then just having people, the right people in your life, and who support you, and who want the best for you. That's the most important too. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all that. That's really awesome. So thank you for all of this. This has been a great chat. We went all over the place. I had an amazing time, and you're welcome back anytime. This was great.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Thanks. That rules. I'm so happy to be on this. Thanks for everything. So awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, thank you much. We'll be in touch, and thank you to everybody for listening. Talk to you later. All right, folks, thanks for sticking around for this one. I know it was extra long, but I felt like it was extra good as well, and hopefully you felt the same way. Share this with somebody you think needs to hear it. Honestly, who knows what people are going through right now. There's a lot of nonsense in this world, and if we can help each other, why not help each other? That's what it's all about at the end of the day. So if you can think of somebody that maybe is going through something like this, or maybe you are, I'm going to put those 2 resources she mentioned in the show notes, so you'll be able to find those really easily. And check out her music. I mean, you just listened to her talk for almost 2 hours. You should really go listen to her music. She's really, really good. I like what she's doing. It's right up my alley, so to speak. So yeah, share this with a friend, family, whatever. If you liked the show, throw us an iTunes review, join the Facebook group, whatever. Shoot me an email, info@tonemob.com. Shoot me a message on the gram, whatever. Drop me a comment, whatever you need. Just let me know. I'll be around if you need any help, and please come say hi at Summer NAMM. All right, until next week, have a good one. One last thing before we totally sign off here, I just want to remind you that if you do any shopping at Stringjoy, that's Stringjoy guitar strings made in Nashville, that will help me out as well. As I've said for years, I'm heavily involved in that company, and I really do think they're making the best products on the market. So if you would like to try custom strings, go to tonemob.com/stringjoy and check them out today. I seriously love what the team down there is doing. I help them out with all kinds of things, and by you supporting them, you are also supporting me as well. And hey, you need some strings, so why not get some custom strings just for your guitar and playing style? Again, the link for that is tonemob.com/stringjoy, and that will take you right to their website, and you can do all your shopping through there, and that will help everyone involved out. So thank you very much. Talk to you next time. We are brought to you by the wonderful folks at Gun Street Wiring Shop. Yes, Gun Street Wiring Shop. I've talked about them before. I used to say based out of Bend, Oregon, but guess what? Sean moved to my neck of the woods. Sean's in Portland. Sean is awesome and has helped me with a bunch of stuff lately. And if you have wiring needs for your guitar, he can help you too. If you want to get weird with it, he can get weird. If you just need to spruce things up a little bit, there's your guy. He takes all the guesswork out of doing your guitar wiring, and he makes it simple, and his customer service is top-notch, and I can't say enough good things about Gun Street as a company. I really respect Sean and what he's all about, and the product is top-notch. I've got 3 different guitars that now have Gun Street harnesses in them, and I could not be happier. So go to gunstreetwiringshop.com and check them out.